Hi, everyone. Welcome to Flock Talk. I'm Erin Morgan.
And I'm Jordan Sloggett.
And we work for the farmer members of the Ontario Sheep Farmers Organization.
This week we are discussing Ewe Manage with Chris Vervoort, an Ontario cattle and sheep farmer and the distributor of this software designed to help sheep and lamb producers achieve operational success.
Welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining us on Flock Talk.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, Chris. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the sheep business and how you started working with Ewe Manage?
Yeah, so Jen, my wife Jen and myself, we farm near Arthur, Ontario. We're a first-generation farm. We started totally from scratch in the cattle business. Over the years, we were interested in sheep, and in our landscape in this area, sheep really suit the farm and the soil types. So we ventured more into the sheep. In 2011, we really started stepping into the sheep business and growing our flock. Yeah, so that kind of got us into the sheep business, and here we are.
Very cool. And then what about Ewe Manage? What was your introduction into that?
So about 5 years into sheep production, we were kind of finding that we were needing more. We needing to streamline some things. You know, you kind of get busy and you're not catching everything. So that was about 2016. We started looking at all the different options available to us. And it was just by chance at an Ontario sheep AGM, there was a presentation of this Bergier flock management software, which was actually in French. So we caught that presentation, and even though I couldn't understand what was said, the visuals on that software was, it kind of checked all the boxes for us. As far as we really wanted to identify our low producing ewes, and we were looking for something for traceability. And we have some purebred animals, so the software would send data to Canadian Livestock Records, Genovis. So it kind of checked off all the boxes that we were looking for. So we actually approached Jacques, who's the creator of Bergier. And Bergier is actually celebrating its 15th year anniversary this year. And we worked with him with two other couples to translate the software. And then at the end of 2017, the software was mostly translated enough that everybody could use it. And he offered to release it to producers. But he needed some support and some help with that. So that's how we kind of got involved in Ewe Manage. It was kind of a bit self-serving, but also a bit of, I think, giving back to our industry and being able to help, bring something to other producers. So that's kind of how we got into it.
Thanks, Chris. So Ewe Manage is one of a few different farm management software options. What is it about Ewe Manage that's different, that stands out in your mind?
So for me, was 100%, like I said before, the reporting, a lot of very visual reports. It's a Canadian-made software, so Jacques understands our Canadian system. I can't speak highly enough about Jacques, actually, with his connections throughout the sheep industry globally, actually. He's very well connected. He's on the pulse of what's going on, and he's always a step ahead of the industry. So it really made sense for us to get involved with somebody like that. And a lot of the things that we were looking for, in terms of traceability and connectivity with Genovis, they were already done and they're already happening on the French version. So there was no reinventing the wheel. It was just a matter of translations. So it was all proven. So it was kind of there was nothing out there that could actually compare with it. Mm-hmm. So it was a pretty easy decision for us.
Mm-hmm. Chris, could you speak to how Ewe Manage helps sheep farmers improve the profitability of their operations?
So what I'm finding is over the years, everybody's got different ways of analyzing their flock and what they want to see out of it. For myself, I'm more focused on the bottom end of our flock. The bottom 10% of the ewes that aren't carrying their weight or doing, or aren't producing for us. The top 10% of the ewes, they know what they're doing and they don't need me. So I focus on the bottom 10%. When we start turning out that bottom end that isn't productive for us, naturally your profitability is going to come up, and lots of other things kind of pop out of that. The ability to make health decisions and feed decisions. Some tools in the software, or when we're tracking our mortalities, and it tracks mortalities by the age, of when the event happened. So now when we're dealing with our vet, it really directs us into what specific things could be happening in those time periods, so we can really approach our treatments or our treatment plans to fix some of these problems. And sometimes it's kind of hard to see, but in time it shows itself those benefits.
Mm-hmm. So if I was a sheep farmer that was new to the industry, or maybe I just have all my record keeping on paper, what is it about this digital approach to farm record keeping? What are the advantages over paper and pencil?
So there is tons and tons and tons of data collected in the sheep industry that we'll never utilize because it's not prepared in a format that that's easy to use. Everybody's busy. Nobody has time to sit in the office and go through stacks of paper and hammer this out. So the advantage of this is it's creating those reports for us. So the report that caught my attention right off is a bell curve graph of a group of ewes. So after we wean our lambs, we'll do our 50-day weights. We enter that into the software, and it sorts that group of ewes out by production of kilos weaned in that lambing, or we could sort it by lifetime. But specifically, we use it per that lambing. And, it really identifies that bottom 10% that I have to go check and, make my calling decisions. But those reports are definitely key. And that's one difference between an app or paper versus a true software is all in the reporting. So the collecting of the data, it's easy to make piles of data, but utilizing it and presenting it in a format that we can actually understand and make educated decisions on is the difference between.
Mm-hmm. You sort of just touched upon this, but are there any other reports that farmers can utilize from Ewe Manage that help them make better decisions and better management decisions on the farm?
Yeah, so there's tons and tons of reports. One that I would touch on is there's one that's kind of it's a 12-month profile. It's kind of a report card of your total flock that I find is kind of interesting. It gives us our total number of ewes and total number of lambs, our call rates, our mortality rates, our mortality rates by the age, the number of lambs sold in heavy and light markets, some conceptions like conception rates in season and out of season. And it's really a total broad overview of your flock. And then we can save that and compare year to year to see our growth and that in the flock. So, but there's a report for everything that you would want. And one advantage too is if we do have a gap in the software, Jacques' dedication to the software over the years, it's impeccable. He's literally working on this thing 7 days a week, evolving. And if we find things that we want or think we need, he works it into our software for us. And the software is growing day by day. So, which is really cool. And that's kind of unique again to Ewe Manage to have that support.
So it sounds like there's an incredible amount of utility in the form of the data and these reports that are processed. Have you ever come across either yourself or heard someone being able to take advantage of that when it comes to selling sheep or selling a flock and being able to pass over some of that data that's been collected from those animals?
Yes, and that happens all the time. I mean, I think data is really the difference between breeding stock and just gender specific sheep like that kind of fit and I think there's a difference there of having some data and some justification to what you're selling. Definitely is, to me, what defines breeding stock.
Mm-hmm. Within the app to actually transfer the data from one owner to the next. So if there's an owner who's been using Ewe Manage, collecting all this data about their sheep, and then they say sell the flock to someone else and they want to pick up where they left off, is there any ability to transfer data between within the app itself?
Yes. So we can do a direct transfer of the whole animal's file from one Ewe Manage user account to another. And we also have the ability to import Genovis reports. So if say you're buying a ram or breeding stock from say a Genovis user that doesn't have software, we can actually import that information into the software as well. So, and that's where that connectivity that we talked about before with Ewe Manage really comes into play.
That's great. So what kind of feedback have you received from farmers who've implemented Ewe Manage in their operations? What improvements have they seen?
So I think the real testament to it, and we did it ourselves, and I have had a number of people mention it to me, is a year or so after they've got their information entered into the system, and they start getting some data coming back out of it. You'll see generally a 30 to 40% cull rate on their ewe flock.
Wow.
And most flocks will have one big cull. And it's a point where they realize how much low-hanging fruit they have, how many low-producing ewes they have. And we did it here, and I actually had a producer last week talk to me about that. I think he culled 140 ewes in 1 year, and which would have been about a 35% cull rate for that flock. So I think that really, it kind of speaks for itself. So if you think of the efficiencies when you get rid of that,
absolutely,
take stuff out. So, and then maintaining that going forward, like it's an ongoing thing. But I think, that kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, that's huge. So we've been talking about the data quite a bit, but we haven't really said what type of data are you collecting and putting into Ewe Manage in order to get these types of reports out the other end?
So I find a lot of people overthink it, and they think that it's pretty involved and you need a lot. So what we're doing is we're basically starting at lambing, or we'll start at breeding, but we'll record our breeding. But if you do want just to start out, basically, if you're collecting your lambing data, so you're matching your lambs up with your ewe using RFID tags. We're putting a weight in, ideally putting a weight in for each lamb born. So we have a kilos born per ewe and a number of lambs drop per ewe. And then we'll do a 50-day wait. And that kind of gives us an indicator of the ewe's production. And then we try for a 100-day wait. But essentially, like if we're getting that lambing entered in the 50-day waits, a lot of information is even built off that simple information. And then going forward, we'll do a 100-day wait. It kind of matches with Genovis. And then we're going to track our mortalities. And there's lots of other stuff we can track within the software, but if you're collecting those few data points, you'll really drive most of the reports you need off of that. And another key thing is, tagging your lambs at birth. I find the industry is still hesitant to take advantage of the RFID technology and these tags. And I mean, if we get them put in as a newborn lamb, we get to use them as a management tool. And also the hole in the ear kind of toughens up, and those tags get really hard to pull out. And we have very few tags lost on our farm by using that system. So I think we could definitely do a little bit better with utilizing them and seize that opportunity. So.
Well, thanks, Chris. I mean, that's a good overview of the data that you're collecting. What about other tools, pieces of software or technology that Ewe Manage integrates with that sheep farmers might already be using?
So for collection tools, I guess would be, I kind of guess where I'm seeing that from. So we have apps made for Android and Apple mobile devices. We can run on tablets, on computers, like laptops. We have what's called an X6, which is a handheld reader with an integrated tag reader into it. We can Bluetooth to most modern RFID readers. We're working on some scales, connectivity to some scales. Most modern scales with Bluetooth options on them, we can connect them. There's so many different options, connection options, really depending on what producers have and what their needs and desires are too. I know with ourselves, the system we had, Jacques actually, modified things to accept our data off our scale. Export a CSV file and draw that into the software for us. So there again, having that support behind the software was pretty invaluable and really added value to our existing purchases already. So
yeah, it sounds like Jacques is an amazing partner.
He truly is. And he's kind of one of those guys that kind of goes behind the curtains. He's kind of unseen, but he's a strong person for the industry.
That's fantastic. So if a farmer is new to this software, what support and training is offered by Ewe Manage?
So Ewe Manage offers free tech support. And the way we do tech support is usually all online using a team viewer. So as Jen or Jacques will log on with you. And we use more of a teaching approach. So rather than just fixing your problems for you, we want to teach you how to do it yourself. So they're able to log on and work through your problems on your computer and teach you. As well, we have a pile of videos made. We also have a bunch of emailed documents, to step-by-step documents to work people through things. And but the free tech support, it's there. I find it's incredibly underutilized, which is kind of unfortunate. And even by long-time users, it's we'll get some that want to try something else or move to the next level, and they'll log on with that, and Jen can teach them.
So, Chris, if a listener, sheep farmer who's listening, has been sold on all the features and benefits of Ewe Manage, where would you direct them? Where can they go to find out more?
So, you can check out our website, www.ewemanage.com. And there's actually a really nice, there's a 13-minute video on there that gives you a pretty good overview of the software. And then you can also send an email to ewemanage@gmail.com, and somebody can connect with you and send you more information. And or you can give us a call on the phone. More than happy to talk sheep and answer your questions. 519-993-6411. And even if you just want to talk sheep, we're happy to do that too.
Perfect. And Chris, looking towards the future, what are the plans for the continued development of Ewe Manage, and how do you envision it evolving to meet the needs of sheep farmers in the future?
So I would say, Ewe Manage has always kind of been ahead of the times. So we're going to continue to support with what we have and maintain it. We're going to continue to try to streamline things like connectivity with other devices. And we are looking into EPDs and how to implement them into the software. We're doing some of that here, and it's kind of exciting stuff too, but time will tell how that all plays out and how it's going to look. So
very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Join us next Wednesday for our interview with Betty Jo Almond, CEO of Ag Sites. Jordan, what's new at Ontario Sheep Farmers?
Ontario Sheep Farmers has a number of awards and scholarships. Our scholarships are open for students studying agriculture in university, college, or through an apprenticeship program. Please note also that shearing programs also count as apprenticeship programs. We also have various sheep producer awards that you can nominate someone that you think is worthy, including the Emerging Leader Award, the Outstanding Shepherd Award, and the Long Service Award. The deadline for nominations is September 6th. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe through your podcast app to receive alerts for future episodes, and please consider sharing this podcast with your friends.
For more Ontario Sheep Farmers content, follow us on social media at Ontario Sheep Farmers on Instagram and Facebook, and at Ontario Sheep on X. And visit our website at ontariosheep.org.